You have to. Yes, yeah, he will. I know, well, it's, yes, yeah.
Worry about that. Oh.
A lot of stuff here.
Here, I can move my stuff over.
That's okay.
I only have it in just we have to look at it.
When you review the agenda, are you gonna mention what's not on it?
What did I do? Definitely didn't put that.
Oh, there we kicked it down the road. Yes. Thank you for the nudge.
When did they open up, Ferry Road is delivered or whatever it was? I went all the way down there today.
Tewksbury Road open. Let's see. It opened to one lane at 11 a.m. Shutesbury Road. January Hills opened at 1.
Oh, okay. But I had a haircut appointment. I was all the way down there. I saw you guys coming the other way. I said, this isn't good. I had to turn all the way
Right.
There's
around.
your
I
sign.
was like 15 minutes late for my appointment.
Speedy was late for him. That's the thing.
Yeah.
91 was backed up going north from way up into wherever whatever was going on. We
Yeah.
Backed up for.
There were- I saw tree trucks everywhere I went today.
It was bad.
There was a tree down on my road. They had to pump National Grid.
There's a big chunk of pine was down in our yard today. I think it hit a pine, hit a little apple tree. I bet apple tree thing.
Not a problem.
Go away.
You didn't have any tree problems?
I did not. Okay, shall we call ourselves to order for our Shutesbury Select Board meeting, March 17th at 5 o'clock. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, first to review the order, if you haven't already signed in, if you're in the room, please sign in on the sign-in sheet on our footboard. To review the agenda, we did have a request from our TA to move up general business because she's got other meetings to attend tonight. So with that said, we'll do, public comment followed by approving our minutes. Review and sign a letter of support for the McAvoy Drive Hydrant Grant Program or applications. Appoint Michael Tommy McDuffie to the Conservation Commission. Appoint Mateo Pingala as election administrator. We'll just chat real briefly about the state of emergency with the oil tank leak at the elementary school. Administrator report, and we'll put the Spear Library Reuse Committee at the bottom of that. And the one thing that we did remove from our agenda was the Sand Hill discussion. We will have a discussion at a future select board date. So we will not be having the Sand Hill Road discussion today.
Enjoy the weather.
So. So with that, let me open up to public comment. If you're online, please use the raised hand feature, and if you're in the room, please use your raised hand feature. So is there any public comment before we get started with the rest of our agenda? No public comment, okay. Let's move on to approving the minutes, meeting minutes from March 3rd of 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 3rd, 2026.
Okay,
Second.
all right, do we have any edits or clarifications?
That was good.
Good, okay, all in favor?
Carol, I.
Stalker eye.
Make peace O'Neill, aye. Do I hear a motion for March 11th
So moved.
at 4:10, I'm sorry.
The
We
first.
have two sets.
Yeah, yeah. Second.
Any edits or clarifications?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Farrell, I.
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. And then the second set of minutes for March 11th at 4:40. Do I hear a motion for those?
So moved.
Okay,
Second,
great. Any edits or clarifications? No, I just, all those in favor?
Farrell, I.
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. To review a letter, review and sign a letter for support for the McAvoy Drive Hydrant Grant Program.
Yes, so this is a request that was given to me by our fire chief. So, we are wanting to join in this grant application because there is a mutual benefit for the town of Shutesbury. You know, way back in December, when we first were talking about this emergency dam repair, the issue came up, well, what are our sources of water in the community? And so, you know, if this grant application goes through for the town of Wendell, that would allow Shutesbury to access another water point on, McAvoy Pond. So we want to support their efforts. We want to be good neighbors, and Lenny has asked that you please sign the support letter.
Where is McAvoy Pond?
In Wendell?
I figured that.
Yeah. More than that, I don't know.
Fairly close to, is it that pond on the right hand
I believe.
side is your?
Yeah, I think
Tom,
that's it. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It's on- Yeah, take, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right
the one
on
on
the
the right,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Kind of feeds
yeah,
into
okay,
fifth,
that's
so
what I
it kinda-
figured.
It goes in.
yeah, I never
Yeah.
knew what the name was. Okay, that's what.
Yes. So do I hear a
Yes.
motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to sign a letter of support for the McAvoy Dry Hydrant Grant application.
second,
Okay, all those in favor?
Farrell, I.
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill. While that's coming down the line, appointment of.
Excuse me. I believe that your microphone is on mute. It's not coming through at a home computer. Thank you.
It is.
Can anyone else hear us?
I can hear you.
You can hear us? Yeah. Oh.
I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear
Mary-
you.
Mary Lou, it might be your computer
Oh.
setting. You might want to log off and then try again.
Turn the volume up.
Or, yeah, that.
Okay. All right, so next on our agenda is appoint Michael Tommy McDuffie to the Conservation. And I see that he's on screen or was, yep, there you are. Thank you. Is there anyone from the Conservation Commission that wants to
Beth was there.
fill us in? Would you like to?
Sure, yeah. Michael came forward a little bit ago with interest in being on the Conservation Commission. He's come to at least 2 meetings. Seems to still want to be on the commission, and has some good outdoor experience and is very interested in the outdoors, trails and whatnot. And I think he'd be a great addition. And you know, we've been looking for a 5th member for a while, so we recommend him to you.
Michael, did you want to say anything more or?
No, just I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve the town of Shutesbury.
Okay, great. Did anybody have any questions? Good. Okay. Do I hear a motion to appoint Michael Tommy McDuffie to the Conservation Commission?
So moved.
Second,
All right, all those in favor?
Farrell, I.
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. And our second appointment for the evening is Matteo Pangallo as election administrator.
Yes.
Yes, do you want to fill?
Thank you. That's the first thing I want to say.
And then,
Yeah.
all the-
So, Mateo has graciously, some might even say heroically, stepped up to help us oversee our spring election. This is desperately needed and we're in very capable hands. So Mateo has, you know, we've worked out an arrangement as defined in this letter where, you know, he's just going to be doing kind of the ballot administration, law, logistics, you know, designing the ballot, all those fun things that we come to expect. You know, we're not really, you know, this will be part-time basis to occur on the same days. It's already scheduled to be in the office, so it's a good natural fit. And that'll get us one step closer to completing our town meeting requirements.
Awesome.
Great. About how many hours a week do you think it is, Mateo, till we get to town meeting?
Uh,
Uh,
right now I'm planning on, just about 5 hours a week.
Uh-huh.
I think.
Gets more as we get
Yeah,
closer.
as it gets closer, it's gonna-
Yeah.
It's the film, sorry, we go.
And what is the resolution on mail-in ballots? Is that part of this too?
We believe that that can still happen.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, until I can't actually get into the state voting registration system to see how many have come in, but only one paper application was coming in for vote by mail.
Okay,
The previous town clerk indicated that she doesn't think there'll be a unworkable number
okay,
of ballot requests, so I think it's worth doing, just so we're used to.
great,
Mhm.
great. That's
same continuity of service.
great. Thank you. Thanks
Very
much.
much.
Well, very much.
There is the issue of the title, because I think that in order to get access to the voter registration information system, it has to be interim town clerk / election administrator.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
So we can do that.
you
We
can
can-
make a.
Okay,
So then our motion will include that.
yes. So I'll make a motion to appoint Mateo Pongalo as the interim town clerk and election administrator for the town of Shutesbury.
Second,
All those in favor?
Farrell, I.
Stalker, aye.
AP O'Neill, aye. Thank you, Mateo.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we were potentially needing to declare state of emergency for the oil tank leak at the elementary school, but Haley has received some,
Some good news.
good news.
Some good news. So we have a $10,000, well, actually, let me first back up. So there is a hand raised. I don't know if you want to
To
take
take,
that question.
Mary Lou?
Hi, I think perhaps, was I called on, Melissa?
Yes.
I have a question. What the position of election administrator is and when was it created? Thank you.
So it was created, well, yeah, well, in a little bit of lead time.
Yeah.
But it was created to help us address this town clerk shortage, the vacancy that we do have as a way to, again, maintain the services that townspeople have expected and come to love. So basically that job is going to be overseeing the voting process at annual town meeting. It'll be preparing the ballot, working with our town council on any language and, all those sorts of things.
And it's part-time temporary,
Yes,
Yes.
just until
yes, until we get through this leg.
we get through
Yeah.
the election.
So moving on to the state of emergency and the good news here that you.
Yes. So yeah, backing up to last week, during a routine inspection of the school oil tank, one of the custodians found that there was a leak. Turns out that we had a leaky gasket, and so some of the oil had escaped, and because of the rain, it had gone kind of into some of the surrounding external areas at the school. So nothing internal, nothing that would make us think that the water was unsafe or that students were unsafe. So we let the fire chief know, let our police chief know, contacted Mass DEP. They were able to get out same day within an hour and a half to get on site. And then so the cleanup effort consists of two parts. So you have your LSP, your licensed site professional. So they're the ones overseeing the remediation work. And then we worked with
Which was swiftly done, by the way.
very swiftly done. They did complete it in one day. And so we worked with Western Mass Environmental and Royal Steam to do the actual cleanup. So what they do is they take any of the contaminated soil and they put it in a barrel, and then they'll come pick up the barrels, and I don't know what happens to it after that, but that's not our problem anymore. So that effort took place, we were quick to notify the parents and put out a town announce kind of summarizing where we were at. Today, Maya, who's our insurance provider, they sent a representative to do their own site assessment. I've not heard back yet from that individual, but we do have a $10,000 deductible. It looks like we can expect to spend, and this is just a ballpark.
But we're covered for that.
Covered
Our
for that,
insurance
yeah.
covers it.
So we're looking at what could potentially be a $17,000 cleanup remediation, and then we have the $10,000 deductible. And then on top of that, we would have about a $6,000 replacement for the pump, the gasket part. So all in all, it's about $23,000. So because we have this deductible and because I don't believe that these costs are insurmountable, I don't think we need to go the route of the emergency order. But you know, we still need to identify whether or not the oil tank itself needs replacing. And obviously at that point, it would be a much more significant cost. So that's something that we're monitoring.
And whether or not the soil around the tank evolves.
Yes, yeah. So there's
Pumps
yeah.
were
So there's layers of testing, right? There's that initial external piece and then they go in and it's actually the heating oil company will come in. They'll go by whatever they last delivered, what the usage was, and then they can calculate out if anything is missing. So we're waiting for that analysis as well.
And so Ty and Bond, which is the licensed site professional, they oversee all of this, and do they prepare the reports?
They oversaw what happened last week. So I do expect a report from them and then we'll have to, you know, we'll compare that to what our insurance provider gives us as well.
Yeah, because they were on site
They were on site today, yeah.
And then the building committee, I know Frank McGinn
Yes,
took a lot of pictures.
yes,
you know,
it's been great. It's
Yeah.
been very helpful.
been on top of
Um,
it.
Yeah.
It's well documented.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so we don't need to do that at this point.
No,
We shouldn't take it off the plate yet.
no, it's just something to be conscious of. It's certainly something that I'll be addressing with the FinCom later tonight, that, you know, this is something that, you know, we need to come up with like a game plan. And I think it just speaks to like a maintenance kind of gap that we have operationally in our budget, you know, what is a good way to address that, so that we can more easily track these kinds of expenses. You know, I feel like we're likely to see more of them as infrastructure ages.
I give a thank you to everyone who jumped in on that and had it so swiftly communicated and taken care of, and the people on site. Was a great exercise for our emergency management.
I will,
Yeah, so the emergency management team met, when did we meet? We met on
Friday.
Friday, right? Yeah.
And that process worked and it was
It did.
really good to
Yep.
be able to do that.
yeah,
It worked well, so.
good.
I want to give thanks. I do see a question, if it's okay with the select board. Mary Lou?
Yes, curious about the boiler situation in the elementary school. And you're calling it a state of emergency, which is, you know, pretty drastic. I don't know if the building is still open or not, if children are still attending. And if so, what effect would this boiler catastrophe have on the air quality and, you know, the children's everyday comings and goings?
I can take
Thank
that. I
you.
can field that question. So that's a great question, Mary Lou, and I do want to apologize if I misspoke. I'm referring to the school oil tank, not the boiler. And the oil tank is located externally from the school. It's underground. So to kind of go over your question, so state of emergency, yes, that sounds very scary, but what that really does is it's a tactical tool. So it allows the select board to deficit spend, right? So if we had costs that were much higher than what we've been discussing, that might be an option that we want to pursue. That's actually what we did with the Lake Wyola Dam, right? So we have this cost, it's tens of thousands of dollars. It's not something that we have appropriated. So how do we handle an expense we haven't appropriated? We can deficit spend by declaring a state of emergency. So that's really a practical tool. It's good to have in the toolkit. As far as the students are concerned, you know, there's no indication that there's any hazard or, you know, air quality effect with the students. And certainly that is something that we asked Mass DEP right away. And they've kind of been guiding us through this process, and we don't have any indication from them that there's something we need to worry about outside of just the, you know, the analysis and the testing.
And everything was outside.
Yes, yeah, but nothing happened.
Nothing
inside the
inside.
school.
And it was fairly well contained to that pole.
Mhm.
It wasn't a widely spread oil.
No, all things considered, it was not.
Okay, so if there's no further questions on that, let's go to the town administrator report and then we'll go to the amendments.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to update folks on is the Lake Wyola Dam. So we were able to secure a contractor. We're gonna be working with T Ford Company, Inc. They have a lot of experience in this area. And, so we had that initial I forget what they call it. There's like a specific legal term. It's like, this is our best guess, right? For the engineering company, and that came in at about $72,000. And
File submitted already.
it's something like that. Don't sue us if it goes higher than what we gave you. It's kind of the shorthand for it. So, but what T Ford Company has said is that it's likely going to end up being more like 83,000 and a little bit over that. So that's about a 14% increase. I don't think that's, too outside the realm of possibility. So they are ready to go. It's a project that they anticipate being able to complete within 2 weeks. What we are waiting for before we initiate any emergency repairs is one of the big components of the project is the trash rack. Right, so in working with the manufacturer, we determined that it likely wouldn't be until early April-ish, maybe first week of April, that we got the trash rack. And so we are waiting to do the permitting and waiting to begin work until we can kind of align that better with when we think the trash rack is going to come in. So
Yes, Lenny said at our emergency management team, it would best to wait until you have that structural. piece,
Yes.
So you know how to do
yes.
everything around it.
Yep. And also you have to get permission from the Conservation Commission, and that has a 30-day time period. So if we don't time it right, we'd have to go back again. We don't want to do that. I don't know if there's any questions on that. But, we'll touch base on the clerk. That's good. I have a question for the select board. So we tried to promote the Stormwater Erosion Committee. It's very timely as all the snow falls right now. But we only got 2 applications. So we got an application from an interested individual on ECAC, and Jennifer Wallace has continued her interest. But we recommended 7 seats. And so I need a little guidance on how we want to proceed. Do we want to try to condense the composition so that maybe we can get, 3 people or 5?
You didn't put it on.
Yeah, we did 2 rounds of town announce postings and we didn't get any other traction. And I know Jennifer.
Did we look for representation from any of
Yeah.
them? So did we not get?
We
like,
didn't.
So we didn't get any of the Conservation Commissioner.
We
planning
didn't, we
board,
didn't get any takers, unfortunately. And we had, we did a couple rounds, and I expect also people are probably busy. That could also
Right.
be part of it.
Right.
But maybe if we look at reducing the composition or changing it, we have both LWA and LWAC. I don't know, just throwing things out there, but
Do you think because some people are not here, like I was thinking about LWA, people are not, who are the summer folks that are not around or not looking at stuff during the winter related to the town.
it's possible. It's hard to
But
say.
I think we could make the group smaller.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make it smaller than 5. probably.
Yeah,
At least
Yeah,
I think
you
it's
need 5.
This was really rich.
Yeah. At 5, and then maybe we could just do some direct outreach and try to brainstorm, like,
Maybe you want
people.
more community participation?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
or maybe some of the people are on the boat safety.
Yeah, I would have thought. Who are you looking at?
Oh,
Um,
at the waiting.
Michael, do you want to weigh in on that one? I see you're in your car.
He's driving
I
in.
have. I'm on the verge of cell signals. Just a practical thing. If you change it, having been on a committee that didn't have enough people, if you had 3, then you'd have a quorum with 2. But if you do any more than that, even those 2
Yeah.
people can't do anything. So depending on how soon you want to take action, might inform that.
Yeah.
5 would need 3.
I would need 3. Yeah,
It's probably
I think
five, I
five.
would
I
think.
think five is, I think we five and maybe just do some direct outreach. And let's just maybe look at if you could share with us the list of who was on the.
I'll send you the charge, because then I'll have to also alter it for you to update.
Right, right. So we could do that at the next meeting.
Because it is actually an exciting time. We're also working on another MVP application.
Right.
To do some community outreach and engagement around the first grant that we got.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Okay.
Okay, and that was my question on that. And then lastly, I spent a lot of time with Nextdoor Shutesbury customer service this week. Because you have to, if you want to have a business page, you have to register as a person, and then you have to like upload all these documents. So I went back and forth with them. Well, I don't have this document. I'm a municipality. What can you do for me? So I got it set up, and I'm going to start doing a Friday 5. That's my branding. So 5 bullet points from the town hall to the public on a myriad of topics. Yes, you know, as a routine thing that people can try to post it at the same time. If it'll let me schedule it, that would be nice. But it'll go out consistently with just some brief updates. You know, I'm all about being concise and clear. So I want to target that.
So you think Nextdoor is the way to do it?
Too. I
Okay.
do.
The business ones, you can have no comments.
And actually on the page itself,
But
What if you're not on Nextdoor like?
Yeah.
some of us?
I know.
well, you gotta start somewhere.
I know. You don't think town announce is a better way to
You can
do it?
kind of announce, but people use social media a lot and you have to be out there and on it. And I did put on our page that it's just for external communications, that people shouldn't expect a back and forth. They should really just expect to hear updates on town business.
So I've been on Nextdoor and I've stopped like looking at it because it's just gotten so,
vitriolic.
yeah, yeah.
Where-
Obviously, it was intended.
Yeah, and there's just, there's a lot of sales stuff, you know, a lot of.
There is a lot of
advertising.
marketing.
Yeah, I don't
Particularly
find it
that too.
particularly useful anymore.
Well, we can go into Facebook after that, but
Oh,
that's even
yeah,
harder to
yeah.
set up.
Yeah,
But I think it'll be helpful, you know, like
I
I
mean, you
said,
could do it, but I would also use Town Announce.
it would go concurrently. Yeah,
Okay.
so.
I see several hands. I see Susie, then Dale, and then Michael. Go ahead, Susie.
The reason Shutesbury created a policy not to go on that at in town business was because the Attorney General's office recommended against it, that there's a lot of issues attached to it, and they said, they warned us not to do that.
Mhm.
That was our position.
Okay.
When was that, Susie?
2018
I think.
or 2016.
Okay, so a lot's happened in 10
So
years.
I was on the web creating choices that
I wonder if that's been updated at all. Did the
Probably.
Police department have did you guys have a
For
Nextdoor
Nextdoor,
account?
I have an account,
Facebook.
but we use Facebook.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well,
I'd use Instagram, but I don't think most people have.
No,
Now.
Instagram's even, yeah,
Facebook's kind of like a catch-all of.
yeah.
Well, it's also interesting because it's different ages, right? So typically, you know, you might see people, millennials. I think Gen Z is going to be probably TikToking it, but I don't want to get that. We're not putting out videos. But Facebook Nextdoor, I think it does hit kind of that sweet spot of who our population is in town in terms of age. So those are good references.
Not MySpace.
Yeah.
Dale and
MySpace.
Michael.
And then,
Oh, and then, yes, Don. But yeah.
Yeah, I would like to caution official pronouncements coming from anything other than the official town website. And if you want to use your place on Nextdoor Shutesbury and any of the others media to refer to the website for the statements, but it's going to be a tricky business, I think, distinguishing between those two. And particularly if you get a question and answer it on Facebook. What is the difference between that and some official policy announcement or a policy statement or a policy response that comes from the town? And it's not going to be controlled or controllable on Nextdoor Shutesbury or Facebook or TikTok or anything.
Right. I think that comes down to who has account access, so that wouldn't be something that's generally shared with most employees. That would be kept purely administratively as a function. And you can set up your announcements so that they link to something else. And you can say, here's a brief kind of executive summary of a topic. This is where you find more information, in just the same way you would format it as a town announce, but it's a little bit more interactive. And I think too, a lot of times what can happen is when you have a vacuum of information and you don't have a presence, people can say, oh, it's this way and the sky is purple, and maybe it's purple when the sun sets, but it's not purple all the time. And if you have the town account saying, well, this is what we're putting out, this is what we've committed to, this is, the facts as we see them, I think it's a lot more difficult to argue with.
And yeah, there are a lot of behind the scenes controls of Facebook. I haven't explored the ones on Nextdoor. I'm not widely out there. I just read.
They're actually pretty simple.
But there are some ways of keeping it controlled.
But you see my concern.
I just see your concern, yeah.
You're up.
Michael, and then you, Eric. Comes on too, yeah.
So I guess I have two thoughts. One, I want to acknowledge, I think, what Haley said, because I agree. Like, one thing I told her is government tends to not be proactive in putting information out there, so it creates a void, which then creates an opportunity for lack of information. So on the one hand, I totally agree with that, and doing something that's proactive to provide information to residents is important. But I think wearing my ex-web committee hat and my ex-select board hat, I would pick up where, Gail and I think Rita spoke to it, cautioning about using private platforms. We have the town website, and, in the olden days, beginning of Becky's tenure as town administrator, she used to do TA reports. I know Tom used to do them at some point when he was police chief. It seems like what I would think would be appropriate is to post the information on the town website, on a town administrator page, and then use the privately owned platforms, whether they be Facebook or Nextdoor or something else, and point to it, but only point to it, just put the URL. So you have the account where you can get in front of people's eyeballs and say, here, go to the town website to see the official information. I think that's appropriate. Because it's one, because it's the official platform, and two, because not everyone, I stopped reading Nextdoor when I was on the select board for the reasons that were mentioned. I would not see the Facebook post for the police department because I don't use Facebook anymore because they're evil. So the town website is the official venue. I think we should put stuff, and then we can opt to use other mechanisms to point to that. So that's my thought.
And that's a great thought. And that's kind of, I think we think very similarly, Michael. So I think, you can have your official town position, but I've said this actually many times, when you're communicating information to someone, you have to hit them with 3 different mediums. You have to hit them not in one just space. And you have to think about, where are people getting their information at? Well, a lot of people are getting their information on social media, and your quality will vary. But certainly if we don't have a presence, then we're not, I don't think, helping ourselves. We're not being proactive in the way that Michael was talking about. So, you can have your dedicated page, and then you can do summaries. You can post those out on different platforms and try to reach a wider audience, because I think at the end of the day, people are not reading newspapers very much. We know that sales are down. People are not looking, they're not watching the TV as much, they're not listening to radio as much. They're using these platforms. And if we don't use these platforms, then we're not going to be competitive, and certainly there are many, many towns around us who have social media platforms and handle them very effectively.
We can never use YouTube, and they've got it too. Netflix is exactly, so Eric and then Tom.
Well, I think I'm speaking opposite to what Haley's suggesting. I don't think anything that's an official town announcement should be on anything other than a town controlled website. The town owns it, runs it, whatever.
Right.
I agree. I don't use Nextdoor Shutesbury. I don't use Facebook. I'm on the computer all the time, but I don't use either one of those things. And that doesn't mean anything one way or the other. I'm just saying that there are people like that out there. And I don't really, and I agree with Michael. I mean, Facebook's evil, I think, frankly. And I don't think the town should have anything to do with supporting it or being part of it, or I don't think, I don't care if everybody in town uses it. They shouldn't be using it. That's all. It should be, I guess I'm agreeing with what Gail was saying too, that anything that's official should come from the town itself.
And then Leslie, go ahead.
I would probably actually be able to agree with what everybody has actually already said in some ways, and I think that's what's kind of interesting about this issue. Everything seems kind of valid there with the caution, and also I think an important point about the outreach. And I just wanted to make the extra point that nobody has made yet, or they might have made it, but it wasn't like an explicit point of theirs. Everyone in this room or on this meeting is probably a person who would go to the town website and would use these sorts of forums. We're familiar with them, but everybody who isn't here tonight is very possibly somebody who never uses these forums. And so we might capture them, and age might also be a factor. Just guessing about the statistics of this meeting, we probably don't represent a full age spectrum of people and how they use things. So those are just other considerations to think about.
And just to jump off on that, sorry, Leslie, but how do you route people to the website if they don't know to go there?
Right.
Well, then they might engage with something.
Put a link there that says Facebook page, or if, you want to go look at the town information, here, go to this website. All these people have the beautiful Shutesbury net in the house.
This is very true.
Right.
But I don't think static links just don't work, though. You have to have more of an active engagement. Companies invest, and, we can debate their morality, but companies invest a lot of money in this because that's what gets tracked and that's what gets picked up. If you're refusing to use a platform, or if you're just trying to statically engage with people, you're not going to get the participation that I've certainly heard most people in this room say that they want, which is more engagement at town meeting, which is more engagement in the public, and to really be that welcoming community. And if we're not putting ourselves out there across various platforms, I don't know that we can address that.
I'd like to, have you looked at other communities using Nextdoor or Facebook?
Not specifically Nextdoor, but I know lots of communities that use Facebook. I mean, certainly, obviously, Amherst, Hadley, South Hadley, Northampton, East Hampton, even Bernardston. We were the senior center had a Facebook page, so it's very common. I would say we're probably in the minority, honestly, in terms of engaging on social.
I haven't looked at the content in the way that we're discussing today.
Yeah,
Right,
just
that's
curious.
different things on.
Yeah.
Well, actually, since I sub to Amherst on Instagram, what they usually do is that they'll post a portion or the entirety of a public town statement on the platform, and then you get routed to the website if you have more questions. So it's just a way, like I said, it's just about visibility. It might sound kind of like intimidating or scary because you can't control what people are going to say, but that's the truth of these meetings. Somebody could come here with any kind of opinion, and that's their right to vocalize that.
Oh, I don't object to that. That's fine.
Leslie.
Well, Rita asked my one question, which is, are other towns using it? Because Rita and Susie and I think there was someone else who spoke, Michael, who come from an older time when it was interactive, and we were very concerned that people posting on Nextdoor would be, when you went to their link, you could get to some unsavory or illegal kind of postings. But I think Haley is saying that only she will be posting and she will be linking it back to our town. So for one of us gray-haired people, I'm trying to assimilate into the new world, but I respect Susie's comment the most. And I think that we would be wise to check with the Attorney General to see if there are guidelines or anything that we should know about before we join up. Maybe there's something that's preferred at the Attorney General's office with Facebook as opposed to Nextdoor.
And it probably changed since 2014.
Yeah, technology has definitely changed a lot in 10 years, so.
Exactly, exactly. But wouldn't it be wise to check in with them first
Oh,
rather?
certainly. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. We should move on. Okay. I think we should move on.
Well, you'll
Unless
see-
there's any more updates.
You'll see
there.
a post on Friday unless I hear otherwise from the AG's office.
Okay.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Gail?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if the police department checked any of that before going on Facebook.
Yeah, it's commonly used in many other towns. Pretty much every police department has a Facebook. The public library has a Facebook. And
We have an emergency management.
I think moving with the times, it's become more popular. However, I will say, I think that it would be important to adopt some sort of policy around the use of it, just to have guidelines. I don't think that would be a bad idea, but yes, it's very common that pretty much every police department I know of has a Facebook.
That's such a great segue because once I make the edits to the personnel policy that we met as a staff to discuss, there's a very clear and explicit policy about social media use.
Right. And
Be able to have that as well.
Perfect. Okay. Let's move on to the MN Spear Library Reuse Committee presenting their work and findings to the select board.
and Susie is
yeah.
gonna start. So Susie, if you could just project, because I know it's hard to hear if you're a ways away from this.
The MN Spear Library Reuse Committee began meeting on September 18th. And we had a charge to consider comprehensive analysis of potential reuses for this historic building. And the analysis should include future uses for the municipality, including municipal offices and other potential uses by boards, committees, and town organizations. So we met, and part of the impetus of that is that a town building must have at least minimal use to remain insured.
Introduce us.
Okay, and the members of the committee, Rita Farrell is the chair, Paul Lyons, myself, Susie Mosier, Stephen Dalmas, Mary Jo Johnson, and Henry Geddes. We started out to gather information. We sent out a survey to all the town departments, boards, and committees to find out their space needs. We got 17 responses back with many lengthy comments. We have also heard from the community some suggestions for non-governmental uses. We worked in meeting every other week, and through our discussions, it became clear that we needed to consider reuse and use of both the MN Spear building and town hall. Since one, the current use of space in town hall is not considered adequate for some functions, such as the police department, the town clerk's office and record storage, and others. And two, if a department presently in town hall should move to the Spear building, that would likely precipitate a reorganization of needed office spaces in the town hall. So after a lot of discussion, we put together a table that is a way of comparing 3 options to address future municipal needs, both of using both or the Spear building and town hall. So we included a possible revised floor plan for the lower level of town hall if the police department was to be relocated there. And we also gathered a description of state requirements for procurement and the use of prevailing wages. So probably we're up to Paul's presentation. Or I don't know if there's any questions about that much, but that's just the introduction.
Really? Put the chart up on the.
Green, did you recommend it? Green. Sign into the green one. So.
Okay.
Brennan there.
See the Haley Bolton Square.
Haley Bolton.
Yeah, that's one of those,
It might be better if you could.
Brennan, do you have the options matrix? Can you share it?
It's on the homepage too. Town
Yeah, it
website.
might take me a minute to locate it. But I'll get it put up.
Okay.
So I'll just say a couple introductory things while that's happening. Paul Lyons, first of all, one of the members of the committee. And we're at the point, the committee's at the point where we felt like we put these three possibilities. We've identified the three possibilities. We've created this chart to try to, give us some sense for the pros and cons of each of those. But we really need more guidance and input at this point from the select board as well as the public, we felt. So that's kind of the point we're at in our process. So there's a chart. Great. So on the left side, you can see the three options that Susie just identified. The Spear Building becoming just a meeting space only, which would require really minimal changes. Two, the Spear become a police station, and that's in quotes because there may be some legal implications for whether it's just an office space or an actual station. Thirdly, a reorganization of town hall. So those are the three options that we're considering. The matrix is meant to basically compare those three options by a number of different variables, and that's what you see across the top. Water source needed, septic connection needed, and so forth across the way. So let me just kind of run across the chart for number one, the Spear becoming a meeting place only. So that would require no additional water source nor bathroom. So we don't need to put in a well. We don't need to connect to a well. We don't need a septic system. So those two are no. The interior renovations would be moderate. And you can see we have a number of footnotes that give you some additional information there. So that footnote says we'd probably want to replace the furnace. We'd have to add some technology to the building so that, we can have hybrid meetings and so forth. And we may need some partition walls and some furniture and so forth. Architect needed, probably not for that option. Additional maintenance costs would be relatively minor for that as well. Utility costs would be moderately lower, we felt, and some of these were just determinations that the committee came to, sometimes pulling them out of the air, sometimes debating them quite a bit and, changing them, going from one to a moderate to a high and back to a moderate and so forth. So these are, not set in stone by any means. But anyway, we thought that utility costs would be moderately lower, mainly because there would probably be less overall use of the building than there was when it was our library, just because of the number of hours that the library was open versus the number of hours that it'd be used probably for just meeting space. Does it address multiple needs? Not only, and we felt this was an important variable because, if we can accomplish a number of different goals, with these different options, and that would certainly be desirable. Possible that the meeting space could address multiple needs. And I don't know, Susie, if I don't recall exactly what our discussion was about that, about why we said it was possible. Do you want to add anything on that one?
Well, we know that meeting space has been very limited when we had in person. Now that we have hybrid options, setting up a hybrid meeting space there would offer meeting spaces for 2 simultaneous meetings, which is certainly common in this town.
Right, thank you. Action needed, that variable addresses whether we would have to do something regardless, of what option we choose, basically. And in this situation, as Susie did mention, and you can see in footnote number 7, just for insurance purposes, we need to maintain a minimum level of activity in all of our town buildings. So that would be a yes. The approximate costs, and these are very approximate. We felt this would be the lowest cost, and I've already identified the few things that would probably be needed, for a meeting space only. And so those costs would be the lowest of all 3 options. So that's how the matrix is set up, basically. You can see, I won't go through all of them unless you want me to, but you can see for the other ones, along with the footnotes, how we rated them, the different options, and why, essentially, with the footnotes. So again, that's where we are right now. Again, tell me if you'd like to go through things in any more detail.
Why don't you go through the other 2?
Go through the other 2. Okay. So number 2, Spear becomes a police station. We would need to put a bathroom in. Okay. So we need a water source. That could be a new on-site well, as you can see in footnote number 1, or probably more realistically, we could tie into the existing town hall well, which we feel, is adequate, even though it would require, trenching across the road and piping and so forth. We would also need a septic connection, and it would probably be difficult to get a new septic system put in over there. I think we probably have very high ledge. That would be an issue. We could maybe put a tight tank in, but a more realistic option there might be to tie in to the church's septic system. And we have had some preliminary discussions with church officials who were open to the idea. They couldn't commit to it, of course, but they were open to further discussion about that at least. Interior renovations would be fairly substantial. And I should also say that, the police chief has been at several of our meetings, so we've had some good discussions with him as well. But as you can imagine, there'd be some substantial renovations needed to make it into a police station. We'd probably need an architect. The additional maintenance costs would probably be moderate because the building would be used a fair amount more than it has been in the past. Utility costs would be higher because it'd basically be used most days, all day long. It does address multiple needs in that it provides, a more efficient use or more practical space for the police department, while also freeing up space in this building to meet some of the other demands here. Action needed. Yes, of course, as I said before, we'd have to have some minimal level of activity there, but also this is not clear at the present time, but it's probable, based on our discussions with the chief, that there may be some future certification standards or requirements coming out of the Post Committee, which is the Peace Officer Standards and Training Committee in the state. They're looking at options for, what a minimum set of standards might be for police departments and officers as well. And the approximate cost would probably be fairly significant, when you add up everything that would need to be done there. And we're probably talking about, somewhere in the vicinity of 100,000 or more. Reorganization of town hall is the third one. We don't need a new water source. We already have one. We already have a septic connection. Interior renovations would be fairly substantial. I mean, if this room that we're sitting in now became the new police station, yes, right. And right, there is that floor plan that was developed as one option. Again, none of this is set in stone, you know, we're definitely in the discussion stage and looking for additional input. But you know, fair amount of renovation work would be needed, new walls and security systems and window treatments and all kinds of things. So renovations will be substantial. We'd probably need an architect. There'd probably be no additional maintenance costs because the police department's already in this building anyway. Utility costs might be moderately, and I'm sorry for the misspelling on that, higher. Mainly because this space, again, would be used much more in that scenario than it presently is. Right now, we can turn the heat down, you know, for much of the time when this room is not being used, but that would not be the case if the police department was here. Again, it would address multiple needs because we could start shifting around, you know, different departments in the building. The action needed would be the same. Approximate costs, again, would be fairly significant. And again, we're estimating with some ballpark estimate from a local architect that we'd probably be talking again about $100,000 or more. So that's the matrix. That's where we are with it right now, at least. And we look forward to, you know, getting input so that we can figure out where to focus our efforts as we move forward.
Because I gotta bounce. Yep. Can I ask a question? Are numbers 1 and 3, are those inclusive or are they exclusive? Like, if we keep it as a meeting space, does that mean that we reconfigure the building or no?
Oh, I see what you're asking.
Yeah. Do that make sense? Are they mutually exclusive? Like if one happens, the other doesn't, or they both happen?
Say that again. If
So,
one,
for example, if you renovate the space to be the police station, does that automatically assume then that we're keeping the library as just a meeting space?
No, nothing.
No assumptions, right?
Right, but
It is true that in doing our survey study for space use, the police did say they have some pressing space needs. So would there be a response to do that? And if it was 3 or 1, but that's not where we started, really. We're trying to figure out how we would do the Spear. So if it was only a meeting space, we would still have other space issues to be addressed in this town because we haven't addressed them forever.
Well, I really appreciate the matrix. I think the only thing I really wanted to offer my 2 cents about was the fact, like, I'm just wondering how, if it's a meeting space and somebody has to go to the bathroom, are they crossing that street to get here and then going?
Yeah. Exactly my question.
yeah.
And there's
So I think we were thinking in terms of, you know, if you have a meeting space for 2 hours, so, you know, typically, yeah, like, what is the likelihood that people are not? Yes, you'd have to get up. It's like Mary Ann, when she had to go to the bathroom, she was working in the library. Yes, she crossing the street. So it's not ideal, but you know, the expense of putting in a bathroom for a space that you're not using constantly is significant enough that I don't think it warrants putting, you know, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars for septic and water there.
And then my last question is, I don't want our police chief to have this TV, so where would something like this setup go? Sorry, but that's coming with me.
Well,
Your office is.
we discussed having meeting spaces in different ways. One, we have the technological parts to have a setup over there and it wouldn't take it out of here. If we didn't set that up, let's see, what was the last one? When we reorganize this building, we could also imagine having this being the police space because it's the biggest one, and then setting up a meeting space upstairs. If we wanted to have a hybrid thing there. So there's still a lot of options.
Here.
No, we didn't talk about using the senior lounge area.
We did about dividing, we had a wall here and then that was divided in half.
Yeah, I see that.
I don't remember it that way. And in fact, when I went to talk to the Council on Aging, we did not have that idea floated to them. So we did talk about the possibility of a meeting room either in the current police station or the board, the room that has conscom and land use. So we talked about setting up another meeting space so that there would be two spaces that could be used at the same time. And this equipment is only one of two sets. I don't know the size of the television for the other one.
We do have another set though. So in theory, we could already have that set up.
Right. I do want to just comment on one of your comments, Haley, related to, people have to cross the street, if we went with option one. We did, the committee wanted to make sure we were not making any recommendations at this point, but we did basically come to an agreement that having a bathroom in the Spear building provides us with many more options than without. So we wanted to put that out at least, just so everyone was aware that, it would be desirable, even though we're not recommending it right now.
You can always incorporate that.
But if it did have a bathroom, then it'd have to have heat that would deal with water freezing. And without a bathroom there, the heat is turn it off when you leave.
Would we have to?
You still have to maintain it. You couldn't shut it off.
Well, just basically.
The compost one, that's still.
It doesn't
It's-
function.
That's not
really
function.
biohazard.
Also,
Someone come and speak to you like to about that.
If the hall's locked, people, if there's not two meetings going on at once, they might not have access to this building for a bathroom.
You'd have to do the scheduling, especially on a week.
that's too hard.
I'm gonna sit over there so I can drive the meeting since you're ducking away. One second.
Thank you for letting me go first with the questions.
You're welcome.
I'll see you all at 7:15.
Okay. Okay. Give me.
Yeah, but she's at a FinCom meeting. You're not at it.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, okay. My tools here. Brendan, are you able to drive?
Am I able to drive?
Yeah, are you able to drive the meeting? I know there's one person in the waiting room.
Let's see.
I don't want to touch anything here and, oh, wait. Hold on. I got it. All right.
Yeah, you lose.
I think it was first.
Right. Be a moment here. Okay, I have no one in the waiting room on here. Okay, perfect. All right. Does the select board have any questions for the committee before we open up to public? No, fine.
I was on the
Okay.
committee.
All right, so let's open it to the public. I did see this gentleman raise his hand. You'll have to say your name and your
My
address.
name's Rich Stein. I have two questions, maybe a couple. The first two options on the sheet are actually for the library. Third one is not.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we know what the well situation is for the church? Would we be able to tie into that to get water to do, or would we have to drill our own?
We'd have to drill our own. They have a.
We're tie into the town.
That's the town's well they're connected to.
Oh.
So that's the town's well. Yeah, yeah. It's not.
The
the-
town's well, but it's a shallow well.
Okay.
And it also has PFAS in it. So, it would either be a new well or we tie into the one over here.
Now, if we do the second option, will we have to change the footprint at all? Of the library itself, would it
Inside.
be able to, would it be able, the foundation be able to take what load we're gonna put on?
It should because of the books that it was holding. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, it's,
But it's a good question.
Yeah.
is Stephen, are you with us this evening?
Yes, I
That
am.
would be a great question for you to address.
Well, I would say that the first is that as a library, the structure would have been designed to handle the book load. But also, I don't know how recently, but there has been some, what I would refer to as pretty substantial structural renovations that you can see when you're in the basement or crawl space area. So I would be surprised. I mean, could have a structural engineer do load calculations, but I'd be surprised if there was any need to increase the structure. And I'd just like to make a comment about your question about the town well. When we had a meeting with some of the individuals associated with the church, if my memory is correct, within the last 7 years, there have been 2 years where that well has gone dry in the summer for a significant period of time. So that ruled that out as a option to tie into.
Those are good questions. Anybody else? Let's, Gail?
Yeah, I was curious about Haley's question really about the mutuality or the possibility of joining 2 and 3, that the police be in the M and Spear and still have reorganization of town hall. I'm thinking particularly of town clerk and records going into what's now the police suite, etc. If 2 and 3 couldn't be happening at the same time.
They could. And I think that there's probably different combinations still available. We were just trying to look at what each one would involve, but they're not exclusive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good question too. Mary Lou? Mary Lou?
Here she comes. She unmuted herself.
Go ahead, Mary Lou. We'll come back to you, Mary Lou. Leslie?
Thank you. The police garage, as it might be called over here, would that be moved also, or would that stay on this side if the library were to be converted to a police?
Guess it would have to move.
That might be a good question to hold on to.
Yeah, we didn't address that when we talked about it. You know, one of the issues with the town, this is the town common. So anytime you're doing anything to the town common, like adding another structure, it could be an issue. I'm not sure we would want to put that over there.
Good question to keep in the hopper.
But I think
to explore that.
Keep in the hopper.
Yeah. I wrote it down, Leslie. Thank you.
And I understand there is an urgent need for the safety services to have a better location than they have. I mean, it's not. So by the time you hire an architect and put in a bathroom and water, this really gets away from use of the Spear buildings. I hate to even bring it up, but I've always thought that the safety services would be better located either at the highway location or fire station. And now that we've got Lot 032, is there space left on that? But an addition on either fire station or highway for long-term is more in keeping with our town common. And so maybe it makes sense to put in that water and bathroom regardless, to make the Spear building useful for the long term for any use, but also to consider, is that the appropriate location for long-term use of the police? Or should we be focusing our funds immediately on getting the police down to a more appropriate location? I don't have any answers. It's just the big picture.
We just expanded our
Well, you have to look long-term.
Yeah, no, I do. It's why we started looking at this building too. We expanded our own scope, so.
And we would lose the one big room. We already lost it in half when the Council on Aging, well, before, when they put in the divider and then put in the air unit. It used to be that we could open it up and have a big meeting room there.
Yeah, we do have a library now, and we do have the elementary school, so.
That's not the same as in the same building where the officials are all located because of meetings. I'm just asking questions and thinking long-term.
Good.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thanks.
I saw someone else's hand.
Right here.
But no, Michael T. Carey. I saw Tom.
Yeah, Mike's one though. I don't know if Mike was there.
Dropped off. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, I have a few and some might not have any answer, it's okay, but is there a deadline to make a decision on this?
No.
Okay,
No, what we saw, this really is an interim report.
okay,
And I think, if the select board chooses, the next step would probably entail spending some money. So, we've done all of this work without spending anything, we got some professional guidance from, a sanitary engineer for free, but if we were going to start doing some analysis around the septic or the well, we might have to engage somebody, and then if we wanted to get some preliminary designs, again, that's going to cost money, but we needed some guidance really from to hear back from people and some guidance from the board.
can I just play a little bit of devil's advocate for the meeting space option and on the table, not necessarily advocating for it, but the footnote number 3 about requiring a furnace technology and partition walls was only put on that option. Would it apply to all options or to any, would it apply also to converting it to the police station?
Oh,
Likely, yes.
So I just want to say that footnote might belong also there, and not putting it there creates an imbalance in looking at the comparison of number 1 and number 2. The moderate increase in maintenance costs as a police station, I wanted to question whether that might actually be like more than moderate, but and if it's considered a yes for the police station option to address multiple needs by freeing up more space, why is it not just a yes as well for number 1? Because it would technically free up more space and allow for some things. And the possible, the word possible is just, it's an odd word for a yes, no column. And it leads that option not to speak as clearly as the other options with no's or yeses. And again, just for devil's advocacy, could a compost toilet be made that does work? Because I know they exist in other buildings, but I don't know this building situation.
They are, but it's a biohazard, Tom. And so for the person that has to handle it.
Okay, and the whole presentation would help just me as a reader if I did see an option that was explicit about doing nothing to the Sphere building. I'm just a fan of seeing like explicitly all options when presented with something like this, or if there might even be an option C around that existed. But those are just my reactions to the presentation, the information.
In the introduction, we said that isn't an option to do nothing. It would lapse the insurance. So if you,
I picked up on that.
so that's why it's not an option to do nothing.
I think it would help though, just for the public to see that, even if it were like listed out as like, no, it's not. Just remarking as a document.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, record storage, with people going over there periodically.
And that might be enough activity for insurance.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the requirement is,
So the
but
old town hall
Okay.
is.
True.
Insurance.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Was there any other questions or comments on screen? Or in the region? Okay.
I do want to say we are continuing to figure this out and that we do need input both from the select board and it does not look like we'll be making any kind of recommendation for this town meeting. It's too soon and the options are not sketched out well enough to make a specific money request. But we will continue to think about it and think of how to best use spaces in the town.
Was there an insurance deadline where we had to have it in some sort of, like, you know, before they assess it as an unused building?
Well, you know, I think Mary Ann's still been going in there.
Okay, no, that's fine, that's fine. We can have a select board meeting in there occasionally too, with chairs, right? But-
Right, yeah.
We'll figure it
I
out.
think for right now, we're still sort of using it, so the library still had things in there.
All right.
So,
That, I just don't want to make sure you know.
yes,
If that's slowing down and we need
I
to
can
have
go put
something
a few
there.
file folders over there and then go.
I can't raise my hand for some reason, but I would like to say that it's possible that it's still the building of the library trustees. And if they had a shelf of books in there, called it the library annex, the library or something like
I
that.
would prefer
Right,
that.
right,
Okay.
yes.
I just don't want to miss that.
Yes, yeah.
I would like just to, build on what Susie said, that, the committee, I mean, I think in terms of a timetable, I think we're supposed to be done in February. This past February, yeah. So we're eager to zero in and move forward. And we're at somewhat of a standstill right now, not knowing which option to really pursue, because it's going to require a fair amount more work, especially getting, more firmer dollar figures on some of the work that's required. So the sooner we can get some marching orders on which option to, really pursue, the better.
Would you accept all options in the 1, 2, 3 that you have here?
Possibly. I don't think this is the end. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think and so the public needs to send us stuff. But I also want to go back to the first part where when we surveyed the town, there are plenty of municipal needs that have to be met. And that's one of the reasons we've headed in this direction.
And regardless of what they are, I truly believe for the long-term use of that building, it has to have water and a bathroom. And then it could be anything at any time. Could start as a police office and then graduate to office space or, all the other things that you have. But it needs water and a bathroom. It's always been said.
We also talked about any kind of solution could roll out in stages. If we just did option 1, it doesn't preclude other efforts in the future. And I know that nobody here has a lottery ticket that'll make it happen, but it would be a process that there's some things you could move forward with, and then you could change directions and or continuing in a different, there's nothing that would preclude further development from number 1.
And there's nothing that precludes us too, for whatever decision we make. We raised funds for a new library building. We can raise funds for renovation of the Emmons Spear Library. Right.
Oh, that.
I mean, maybe if that is the direction,
Whatever it is.
if we say we need to have water and a bathroom, maybe the first thing we investigate is what would the cost of that be? So, and that would be engaging our sanitary engineer, because that's that's a big nut. And then, getting beyond that. But that's gonna entail some cost. I don't, it's not a lot, but it's some soil testing, some engineering, some evaluation of the existing septic system at the church, which probably would need to be upgraded. I imagine it's not going to be, I don't know when that septic system was put in, but anytime you start, adding stuff.
Don't ask, don't tell.
No, we'd have to get permits. So, and then, running a line over here. So if that's the case, maybe we could get an estimate of what that cost would be. And do that. I don't, does that sound reasonable to the, yeah, our whole committee is here. We're gonna be meeting again.
Just real quick on that. I thought the water meter here had a meter on it. It doesn't. I'm gonna ask a plumber to put a meter on it. Because one thing we have to calculate for the health department is usage of toilets here and there to see if the system will take it. So that's a wild card here. So it might be big
I
enough.
mean, if the well here is sufficient to like add
The
another.
septic, the sewers, the tank out there where all the.
We would use the septic here. We would use the septic over.
I'm sorry, the old building, you said a line here. So
For the water.
Well,
Just
okay,
for the water.
okay, because the old buildings committee said this might be large enough for, and all you'd have to do is put a line from there to here.
For the septic.
For the septic.
Yeah, the problem with the septic from there to here is that when we talked to Cold Spring Environmental, Alan Ice, he said very expensive to do. You'd have to have pumping. And he said it's complicated and you'd be far better off if we could tap into the existing septic
I
right on the
understand
septic.
the new pumping things because of a business I worked for. Pumped in 4,000 feet down the street. And it was just digging up and after putting in a well this big, put in their sewer system. Wasn't that expensive. So the new pump systems were high pressure and all that, they macerate also. That's why I asked.
It was obviously more than just the pumping, I'm sure, but that was
Yeah.
Alan's recommendation.
And
Yeah,
he's
maybe avoid that.
knowledgeable and he's done a lot of stuff in Shutesbury, so
Most of
he just said, I wouldn't rely upon the septic system over here. Water is one thing, but here is already a septic system on the common. And if you could take advantage of that. So maybe that's, I mean, the committee's gonna meet again next week, I think. So we can talk about that and maybe we have time, to get a little bit of money, pay for Alan, because
Town meeting,
we,
talking about.
the town meeting or
Right.
this money.
We'll figure out what the questions are.
Yeah.
But it definitely helps to know which direction we're moving in.
Right, and
Yeah.
one thing I failed to mention the very last column, which is grant money available, and that's something
Yeah.
else that we are pursuing, and the chief is as well.
And I did some research and as I think I mentioned to the committee at the last meeting, unless there's housing or economic development, there really isn't anything for straight out municipal buildings right now.
Right.
Just quickly, Henry Giddens, he's the commission, reuse commission, the library. There may be ways of getting funding specifically for historical renovation. However, at this point, it would require being designated, designating the whole area as a historical district. Don't have more. So that's something to look also towards the future that may be possible. It's a huge effort to do that.
That's something in the tool chest. Yeah.
So the select board is on board with us pursuing looking at the water and sipping with water.
Yeah, certainly, and yeah, I think it does need to have water and air. At the very, yeah. That's a good starting point.
Okay.
It's a little marching order, but we'll take it.
Stop.
Yeah, we'll take that for now, and then I'd like a chance to look over for other,
Yeah,
to
we'd
think
like-
about it,
we'd
mull
like
it
to
a
hear-
little bit.
I'd like to hear more.
Okay.
Okay.
These could be up in the hallway for other people coming through.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Another thing about cost effectiveness is the finance and capital plan committees would have better input, but maybe at some point we decide that building is not a functional building for the town and try to sell it and put that money toward a police station at the highway or fire or lot 032.
Burnt down when
Another good comment. Yeah.
I hit by lightning.
Yeah. All right. All right. I think that.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
So,
Second.
all right. All those in favor?
Carol, I.
Dr.
Make peace, O'Neill. I thank you, everyone.
You.